Hey, it's Mark Ewell with Maximum Elevation Real Estate. Today we're going to go over how to fill out your seller's property disclosure. So I'll be pulling that up here and showing you on a video what you're going to do and how you're going to get that filled out. All right, we're here looking at the email that you would receive. Colorado uses a software called CTM eContracts. Most agents will be sending out their contracts to this software. So you'll receive this email if you're the seller with the seller's property disclosure residential here. And on any of these, the way they all work is you're just going to click the blue link and it's going to open it up. And should be looking at the form right here. I'm going to walk you through this. Your information, your basic info on the house, the address, the current date, should already be saved in there. You're going to start there with the year built. If you're receiving this from me, I've probably filled the year built out already. This does need to be exact. There are no guesses on this disclosure. This is important. If you don't know, set it aside, talk to your agent. If you're working with me, talk to me. If you're not working with me and you've got a question on this, feel free to reach out to me anyway. I'm happy to help anybody in Colorado working with real estate. So if you got a question, shoot me a message, write me a comment. My phone number is all over this stuff at 719-559-2222 or mark@maximumelevation.com. So, but if you're running into this and you don't know the answer for certain, pause and get some help because there's no guessing here. It's important that what you put down here is accurate. So starting with the year built, if you're working with me, I look this up in the county records and I'll fill that in and save it. So the year built should be filled in for you if you've received this from me. If you're working with the Maximum Elevation team, if your agent didn't fill it out, you need to know the exact answer. You can find this on county records. So look at your assessor's website, get your county records, pull up your exact date, or ask your agent to pull that for you. But that year built does need to be exact. I'm going to go through and just fill out kind of a sample pretend one here as we go. So we'll just put in a date of 2015. At any point of the way here, scroll all the way to the bottom, you see the thing that says save. You can click that. And then when it's saved, it'll take you back up here and it'll save as you go. That's not a bad idea to do so you can keep up with where you are and make sure you don't lose anything in case your internet goes down or something crazy happens. So looking here, the important thing to understand is the very top question on each section. So this first section under improvements, section A, is on structural conditions. The question is, if you know of any of the following problems ever existing, in this case it's ever existing, you're going to check the yes column. So if there have ever been any structural problems, even if they've been fixed, you will check yes. If there have ever been any moisture or water problems, what's a moisture or water problem? It's not super clearly defined. Obviously, if you've had, if you had a sink leaked and you fixed it and it didn't damage anything, I'm not sure I'd call that a moisture or water problem. If you had a supply line break and it ran in the house overnight and you had to tear out some cabinets and fix some walls, that you don't want to disclose. Anything, especially that you had to get a permit pulled to fix, you need to disclose. Anything moisture that led to mold, you need to disclose. So err on the side of caution, talk to your agent, make sure that you're clear on this. Don't put yourself in a legal liability situation where you say, no, there's never been anything. Because if you don't check this yes box, you're saying no, there's never been any moisture or water problems in the house. If that's true, great. If it's not true, and the buyer finds out after moving in that you were not forthright on the seller's property disclosure, you could be exposed to legal liability. So be safe, be smart. So let's say we'll make one up here. I'll check this box and I'll say water leak under master bathroom sink, replaced cabinet and dried out, no mold was detected. I would say no mold detected rather than there was no mold, because you're saying something slightly different. That's more important. Damage due to termites, other insects, birds, or rodents. If that ever occurred, you check it. Hail, wind, fire, flood, or other casualty, something you filed insurance for, check it if it happened. Cracks, heaves, swelling problems, to me that ties back to structural. So if you checked number 5, you're probably also checking number 1. That's a structural problem, most likely. Exterior walls or windows, exterior artificial stucco, anything else that's a structural condition you could fill in, check the box, and explain exactly what it means. So structural problems ever existing is important here. Roof, any problems ever existing? Was there ever a roof leak that you're aware of? Was there ever any damage to the roof? Problems with the skylights, gutters or downspouts problems, or any other problems with the roof? If they ever existed, check it and explain it. So we'll say gutter or downspout problem. Gutter came off south side of roof, was replaced by qualified contractor. Simple. And then other information, do you know? Now, if you don't know, leave it blank. If you do know it exists, fill it out. So roof warranty until, well, if you had a new roof, it's probably got a warranty for 30 years. Let's say this one had a new roof. Filling this out today in 2021, we'll say it had a new roof in 2011, so it's good until 2041. And transferable, yes. I'll check yes, and I'll say it was a Owens Corning Oak Ridge Limited warranty. And then what you're also going to want to do is when you're providing your due diligence documents to the buyer, you'll want to include a copy of that warranty. So you're not just telling them to take your word for it, but you're going to go ahead and provide that information. Roof work done under current warranty, let's say no. Roof material, it's composite, and it's age 10. Replaced 2011 after hail storm. So now I guess I got to go back up to here. Damage to roof, yes. 2011 hail storm, roof replaced. Just for consistency. I know I'm making this up, but I want to try to keep it consistent here. Appliances. Now we get into a different section. So these first 3 are, do you know of anything ever existing, right? And then, well, B1 is just information. C is now existing. So if you had a problem and you fixed it, you don't check the box here. This is important and it's different. So built-in vacuum accessories doesn't apply. Age, if known. If you know, fill it out. It's in years. If you don't know, leave it. Clothes dryer, clothes washer, probably not included on most home sales, but if you did happen to include it on yours, then fill that out. The dishwasher, let's say problems now existing. So if 6 months ago there was a leak in the dishwasher and it leaked all over the floor and you had the appliance repair guy come out and he fixed the leak, we don't check this box. Age if known, I replaced that 5 years ago. Disposal, I don't know, it was here when I bought the house. Freezer doesn't apply, gas grill doesn't apply. The microwave oven, I replaced that 5 years ago. In fact, I replaced all the appliances 5 years ago, and there are no problems currently existing with any of them. Let's say I'll make one up. Let's say ice maker does not work. There you go. So I just checked one. That's a now existing. If it was something that was previously wrong with the house, leave it. Keep going. Electrical and telecommunications, same thing. Problems now existing. So, is there a security system? Is it owned or leased? Age if known. This yes is for problems, right? So you have a security system. Let's say I've got a security system on this house. I own it. There's no problems with this. I'm not going to check yes. 5 years ago, I did all this work on the house. And I'll just put on there that it's a ADT system owned by seller, will leave with house, monitoring available. Smoke and fire detectors. Are they battery or hardwire, right? There's got to be one of the two. So this is built in 2015. There's going to be hard wires. Carbon monoxide, those are hard wires. Age if known, I don't know. They were here when I bought the house. Man, if I bought this house in 2015 and then a year later I had to replace all these appliances, I probably had some issues, but that's where we are. I'm making this up anyway. Problems now existing with light fixtures, switches and outlets, electrical service, any of the telecom, cable, fiber, satellite. I don't know if anybody has T1s to the house. I don't know if anybody has T1s anymore anyway. Inside wiring, ceiling fans, garage door opener, remote control. Any problems now known? We check yes. I'll say check yes. And I'll say third bay garage opener squeaking. I don't know. It's a problem. Electrical and telecommunication. Other information. This is just do you know does exist. 220 volt service. Almost every house is going to have 220. Your electric range is going to have 220. Maybe some other appliances in the house that have 220. So if it has 220, you know for sure it does. Check yes. Age if known. I don't know. It's as old as the house. Landscape lighting. We don't have any landscape lighting here. Aluminum wiring at the outlets. Be careful with this. If you don't know this for sure, this is a specific thing. And I can't remember what it's called, but the home inspector should look for this. This is common for homes in a certain age range. It's not going to be in a 2015 home. There can be some aluminum wiring in the house, and that's not an issue. But there's certain aluminum wiring that can be an issue. So if you know you have aluminum wiring to the outlets, check yes. Electrical service amps. This house has 150 amp service. It's fairly new. Older house might only have 100. Garage door controls. Hey, I've got 4. I've got 2 for each door. Any problems? Do I know of any of the following? Yes, we have them. I don't know what to check here. This yes, in this case doesn't really apply in garage door controls. Mechanical. Any problems now existing with the overhead doors, including garage doors? I already said yes, and I said third bay garage door squeaking. We don't have an entry gate or an elevator. Ventilation, heat, air. Again, this is problems now existing. So if you had the guys come out to service your furnace and they said, oh, you've got a cracked heat exchanger, we should replace it. And they replaced it. Excuse me. Then it's fine. You don't need to worry about it. So now existing. Do we have any problems here now existing? I'm going to say no on any of these. Let's say we'll check humidifier. Humidifier wasn't working in 2020, turned off. That's all I know, right? Only fill out the information that you know. You don't have to go into too much detail, but you do need to make sure that your buyer understands what the situation is. Heating type of furnace. So this you're going to fill out. F1, you need to fill this out. This is not a skip the section if you don't have problems. So do you know the following furnace? Heating system. Type. Forced, air, fuel, gas. This is going to cover 95 to 98% of furnaces in the Colorado Front Range area. But if you're not sure, find out for sure. This is one you should answer. Do not leave this blank. Get your agent to come look at it. If you don't know the answer, they can get somebody else to look at it if they don't know the answer. But you need to say, what is the heating system, right? Fireplace type. This is going to be a built-in gas. Heating stove type doesn't apply in this house. When was the fireplace or wood stove chimney flue last cleaned? If you have a wood-burning fireplace or wood stove and you've had it cleaned, put it in here or check do not know. Fuel tanks, if there's any on site, are they owned or leased? Is there any radiant heating systems? Like, for example, if you have radiant heating in the driveway, that'd be exterior. If you have radiant heating in the floors, that'll be interior. Type, fill in specifically what type of radiant heating system it is, and then provide any comments that would be appropriate there. So this is a do you know, this F1. Do you know, and provide whatever information you do know. Water. Again, this is a now existing. Any problems now existing with the water system, pressure, water softener, well, sauna, hot tub, if that was included, steam shower, pool. The underground sprinkler system is your outside sprinkler system. So I'm going to, just for practice purposes, I'll check yes here, and I'll say front bushes sprinkler zone has minor leak. I'm just gonna say didn't bother to fix me. You know what? Just front bushes sprinkler zone has a minor leak. It's fine. Fire sprinkler system, most homes aren't going to have that, but some do. Let us know if you have any problems now existing. Irrigation systems, irrigation pump. Now we're into other information. So water heater. Again, this first one, don't just leave this blank. If you left this blank, then I know you didn't read it. And when it goes to your buyer, the buyer is going to know you didn't read it. The buyer agent is going to know you didn't read it. And that makes the whole thing useless. So water heater, number of. We have one water heater. It is gas. It is 50 gallons. That probably covers 80% of the Colorado Front Range. Some of them are going to be smaller gallons. There is a very small number that are electric for the most part. We got a lot of natural gas here, and it's a more efficient fuel, so you'll see a lot of that. But if it's electric, you can go down to your mechanical room and look at the heater and see what it is. If you don't know, ask your agent. They should be able to look at it. If they can't figure it out, they can find somebody who can look at it and figure out the answer to this question for you. Answer this one, please. Don't leave this one blank when you send it off to your buyer. It just says that you didn't read it and you didn't bother to fill it out. Water filter, softener, well. If there was a well, what was the date of the last inspection? Are there any galvanized pipes or polybutylene pipes? So if those exist, check yes. Last one, source of water and water supply. This one has to be filled out. If you get this from me, you're working with me and I'm representing you as the seller's agent, I have probably filled this out for you. But if I didn't, or if you were working with someone else and they didn't fill it out for you, you need to fill this in. Who is the water company? So is it public? That's in Colorado Springs, that'd be Colorado Springs Utilities, Whitefield Water, Cherokee Water. Any of those are going to be public, right? A community might be if you lived in and let's say you live in a small townhome complex or something, it's got an HOA, and the HOA does all of the water, and you buy it you actually pay your water bill to the HOA, right? That's going to be community. Well, that is if you have an actual well for your property. So let's go back to that HOA example. Let's say you have a little townhome complex, and the HOA has a well, and the HOA draws the water from the well and bills you each month for the water you use. That's community for you. Okay? It's not well. The well is only if you have an actual well. Shared well is if you and some other party have a single well that you both share, but you're both responsible for it, right? Cistern, obviously pretty uncommon in your standard residential property, but for a farm property or something like that, you could see that. Or none. There's no water. There's no water service to the property at all. If the property is served by a well, copy of the well permit is or is not attached. If at all possible, please attach it. If it's not attached, get the permit number, send it along later. It's going to be required. The buyer's going to want to see it. The buyer's going to need to see it. Drilling records, again, if you have that info, send it. Shared well agreement, if you have a shared well, what's the agreement on it? But for the most part, almost all these are going to be simply public. And then the name of the company. So let's say it's Colorado Springs Utilities. Their address is, I don't remember. It's down there on Cascade Avenue, 123 Cascade Avenue. The website is csu.org, and the phone number, I don't remember, but you need to fill that out, right? And if there's no well or water provider, provide any information that you have or that you know. But this needs to be filled out. Who is the water provider for your property? If this is a standard single-family residential house, you know who the water provider is, fill it out. Sewer. Any problems now existing? Now existing. So if you had a problem and it got fixed, leave it. Sump pumps, number of. This house has one sump pump. And I would just check in here because I put that in. It works fine. No issues, because I didn't check yes there. I just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding that filling in the 1 there means there's a problem with it. Sewer other information, type of sanitary sewers. Again, most of it's going to be public. That's your standard water company, sewer and water. Is it a community? Is there a septic system? And if there's a septic system, is it a tank, leach, or lagoon? Septic system, additional information on the permits. Fill that out if it applies to you. Flooding and drainage. Any problems ever existing with the following on the property, check yes. Flooding or drainage. Ever existing. So now we're back to, has this ever happened? Example, in a new home community here in Colorado Springs, back in 2014, there was some major flooding that it came off of a neighboring property during just as kind of a freak storm. Flowed so heavily into these backyards that it went in the basement window wells, broke open the windows and flooded some of these houses. I know of at least one home. It filled it literally up to the ceiling of the basement with water and hail. So that home was cleaned out, pumped out. They fixed the drainage problems outside. They tore out all the carpet and drywall and everything else that was wet. They completely remediated and replaced everything. And, whatever, a month later, 2 months later, that house was as good as new or better. That's still going to be checked. Yes, there was at some point ever existing flooding or drainage problem. Then you explain it. Drainage retention ponds. Are there any drainage or retention ponds on the property? If so, check yes. Any problems now existing with any of the following? Any included fixtures or equipment? So anything you're including, that might be an inclusion that's not part of a standard appliance, but there's a problem with it, check it. Any stains on the carpet? I bought a house once, had a very cutely staged, had a cute little table sitting on a little rug right in the middle of the living room. When I went out there the day of closing, 2 or 3 weeks after the sellers moved out, because they were moving out of state, so they moved well before I closed on the house. Went out there for my walkthrough the morning of closing. The cute little table and the cute little carpet were covering up this giant stain in the middle of the living room carpet. That was prior to this version of the form, which added stains on carpet. So now, if you've got a stain on the carpet and you covered up in staging or whatever, that's fine. But just know you need to disclose it. Don't leave something like that behind for the buyer and force them to just suck it up when they move in. So if you got stains, comment. Any problems now existing with floors or subfloors? Again, check yes. General. We're almost done here, by the way. Use zoning or legal issues. Any problems ever existing? Check the yes column. So, have there ever been any zoning violations, any conditional use problems, any violation of an enforceable PUD or a non-conforming use? If those ever existed, you're going to check yes. Any notice or threat of condemnation proceedings? Has the city government or county government ever threatened to condemn the property? Even if it didn't get condemned, you got to check yes. Any notice of adverse conditions? Any notice of zoning actions? If they haven't taken place yet, but you've received the notice, check it. Any building code, city, or county violations? If they've ever existed, have you ever been notified? If you're aware of them at all, you must check yes. Any violation of the restrictive covenants or owner association rules or regulations? This is related to the house. So, I'm going to get a little out over my skis here on this particular one. Let's say that in your homeowner association, they require that you pick up your garbage cans at the end of the day after the trash guy comes, and they must be stored either in the backyard, behind a fence, out of sight in the garage, otherwise not visible in the front of the house. And let's say that you don't like that rule and you decide you're going to do it your own way and you just stick them in the front of the house and you get away with it for 3 or 4 weeks and they send you a letter after they notice it and you decide not to not to follow up on that, and you keep doing it your way, and then they fine you. Okay, this is not a problem with the house. And you start then putting your trash cans in back. That does not come up as a violation of restrictive covenants or own association rules or regulations for the purposes of this form. That has nothing to do with the house itself. That's you as an owner, right? What this would be if they notified you that your house was painted an unapproved color. And maybe you fixed it, maybe you haven't fixed it, but if that happened and you fixed it, then you would check, yes, front door painted unapproved color, had to repaint. There you go. Seen that happen. Any buildings or improvements constructed within the past year without approval of the owner association or designated approving body. So you've put up a shed in the backyard, you put it up 6 months ago, and the homeowner association hasn't approved it, but they haven't maybe noticed it yet or said anything, but it's within the last year, you need to check this and fill it out. The assumption here is that if it's been longer than a year, that the HOA isn't going to mess with you. Might not be a good assumption, but that's the assumption in the form here. Any additions or alterations made, again, any additions or alterations made, any problems with them, check it out. Any other legal action related to the home, check it and explain it. And again, those are legal actions related to the home, not related to you as an owner. Access and parking. Any of the following ever existing, check the yes. Have there ever been any access problems? You had an easement to the property that your neighbor decided they were going to put a gate across the property. You had to go to court to get them to take the gate off. It's fixed now, but that was an ever existing problem. You'll check yes. Roads, driveways, channels, or paths through the property used by others. If they've ever existed, check yes. That's important for... I can't remember the name of it, but essentially squatters' rights. They can, if they've got a long-standing use of the property, even if it's not theirs, they can eventually take that property from you. Are you bordering any public highway or county road? Any proposed or existing transportation project that affects or is expected to affect the property. If you know about it, you have to check it. You can't feign ignorance if you know. Encroachments, boundary disputes, unrecorded easements. You got a problem with a neighbor. They think the fence is in the wrong place. You disagree. Even if you're right, you still have to check this and let the buyers know that this is a problem that has existed in the past. And again, all these right now are ever existing. For your standard residential single-family property within city limits or within the county that's in a developed area, those are all going to be skipped. But check them and make sure. Just do a quick look. Environmental conditions. Now we're back to ever existing. Again, most of these for your common residential property are going to not be checked. You'll skip right by them. But, if you're talking about a larger property, farm property, rural property, something that, could have unusual issues, these could be on here. So hazardous materials, storage tanks, underground or above ground, transmission lines. Now that's transmission lines. So now talking about in most communities, the electrical wires are underground. They're underground for the whole community. They run underground to each house. That's not underground transmission lines. This is talking about the major, the ones that used to be on the big towers. Now they bury a lot of those, but those are the big lines, not the ones just servicing the neighborhood of the house. Here's one though. Many people have to check number 5 here. Animals kept in the residence. Have you ever had cats, dogs, birds, pigs, iguanas? Check yes. Explain it. 2 cats and 1 parakeet. Used to be 2 parakeets. But the cats ate one. Has the property been used as, or is it next to a dump or landfill? Are there any monitoring wells? Sliding or expansive soils in the property? Mine shafts? Is it within a governmentally designated geological hazard? Governmentally designated floodplain? Most properties are going to be no to this, but if you know you're in the floodplain and your lender required you to get flood insurance, and you're going to check Yes. And it's in the 100-year floodplain. Flood insurance typically required. I probably wouldn't even put that last part. We'll just say it's in the 100-year floodplain. Per FEMA. There you go. Any dead, diseased, excuse me, or infected trees or shrubs? Do you have any environmental assessments or studies? Has it ever been used for mining? Tobacco smoke and interior improvements to the property. If you had somebody smoke in the house, they'll check yes. It's probably pretty straightforward. I mean, does somebody smoke in the house or not? Notice here in Colorado, this is an important point, and I'm not sure I agree with it, but this is the way it's written. It says tobacco smoke. If you're the seller and you smoke something different than tobacco inside the home, this does not read to me like this box needs to be checked. If I were representing you and that applied to you, I would probably suggest identifying something else here if that was appropriate. But they're probably going to know anyway. Common interest community associations. Do you know of any of the following now existing? Is a property part of an owner association? Yes, it's part of the Sunnyvale HOA. Are there any special assessments or increases in regular assessments that have been approved but not yet implemented? So, there was a major, it's a townhomes complex, and there was a major hailstorm that required replacing a ton of roofs and siding, and there's a special assessment of $10,000 per unit. But it just got approved by the board, and it's not going to go into effect for 60 more days because it has to, I don't know, for whatever reason it has to sit. When you're aware of it, hasn't been paid yet, you need to fill that out. Has the association made demand or commenced a lawsuit against a builder or contractor? So again, townhome complex, and they decided they're going to sue the builder because a lot of units are coming up as defective, and you're aware of that, you need to make your buyer aware of it. Any problems or defects in the common elements or limited common elements in the association property. So especially like a condo, if you're aware of problems with the with the condo, with the common elements of the property, you need to check that box and explain. And then the last section here, any of the following, now we're back to a now existing. The most important thing to note on this form is now existing versus ever existed, right? You can look at the tops of these. Ever existing for environmental conditions. Now existing for the common interest association property. Now existing for these other disclosures. Any part of the property leased to others. Straightforward. Do you have any reports now existing of the building, site, roofing, soils, engineering, investigation, or studies of the property? If you bought the house and had an inspection and you still have that inspection report, that would be yes. Inspection report from 2015 purchase. And then probably best just go ahead and provide it. Any property insurance claims submitted, whether paid or not. Yes. I said this house was built in 2015. I'm going to go back and change that just for consistency on this house. But I said we had a 2011 hailstorm, replaced roof. And just because I want to be consistent, I'm going to back this up and we'll say the house was built in 2005. I'm just making all this up, but no need for it to be that far off. Problem is now existing with any structural, architectural, engineering plans or specifications. Do those exist? Have you had any? Do you have any of those plans? Was the property previously used as a meth lab and not remediated to state standards? If it has been, if your house has been used as a meth lab, please go further than what I'm doing with you here. Talk to your agent. I would suggest you also talk to a real estate attorney. If I'm representing you and you say, hey, my house is used as a meth lab, we will get a real estate attorney involved just to make sure that we are extremely on the right side of handling that. But what this says is previous use as a meth lab and now remediated to state standards. So if it was used as a meth lab, but it's been remediated to state standards, I don't believe you have to disclose that. But again, check with your agent, or if you're with me, we're going to check with an attorney and we'll be sure for your specific situation. Government special improvements approved but not yet installed that may become a lien against the property. I can't even think of a good example for this. But if you have anything that sounds remotely like this, talk to your agent and get together with your agent and probably talk to an attorney. And of course, any pending litigation or other dispute resolution regarding the property, if you know that's in progress, check it and explain. So you're done with the whole thing. This is filled out. Boy, I've been talking for 35 minutes plus my little intro, so we're probably going to be about a 40-minute video here. I thought it was going to be like 5. So, well, maybe not 5, but I didn't think it was going to be 40. But this is probably going to take you less time to fill out. You could probably fill this out, and if you've listened to me the whole time, you're done. So that's good. If you're filling it out without me, you probably could do it in 30 minutes. We're going to hit save here. And it should take us back to the top. It does. So now we are done. We can scroll back through and check our answers, make sure that we have everything correct. And then we're going to get down to the bottom. Hopefully you've seen these signature blocks before. This is how your standard contract through CTME contracts works. And you probably did this when you signed your listing agreement with your agent. But you can either select a signature font, or you can draw your signatures. I like to draw mine. This is Samuel S. Seller. Sam S. Seller. And then click Save. Accept. Save, accept. For Sally, we're going to just choose a font. There we go. Now this is complete. This is ready to go. It's best to go ahead and get this done before you get your contract. Because once you get your contract, you're going to have a lot going on. So you can go ahead and get this done after you get your listing, even before the home goes on the market, or after the home's on the market, but before you have your contract. Get this filled out and signed, and then it's ready. Then when you get a contract, what your agent can do is duplicate this to a folder specific for your buyer's transaction, and can then add your buyer's names to it, and they can sign it acknowledging that they've received it. So right now, this is the one that's just been signed by you. Notice at the top, this disclosure should be completed by seller, not broker. If you're working with me, I will be happy to sit down with you. We can go through this whole thing together. We can do it by phone or on a call. We can, on a Zoom call or a conference. So I have web share. I can come out to your house. We can sit down together. Or you can fill it out on your own if you're comfortable with that. And I've got this video here, hopefully, to walk you through it. But if you've received this from your broker and it's all filled out, please double check it. Both you and your broker are at risk if any information is incorrect. So this really should be filled out by the owner. I do the year built because it's easier for me to find that everybody knows what exact year their home was built. I usually fill out the water company information just because, again, that's pretty easy for me to find. I'll ask you, but I'll fill it out for you so you know it's done. And the rest of it you're going to have to do, or we can sit down at your house together and work on it. If you have any questions on this, feel free to drop me a message, shoot me a note. Again, it's mark@maximumelevation.com, or you can call 719-559-2222. Love to hear back from you on this. Sorry this video ran so long, but I really do want to go through the details on it. And now you are 100% done with your disclosure and ready to get on to selling your house.